Hi, College and Career Success. Welcome to your Week 5 assignment video that covers the first part of your assignments. So this week, it's kind of a typical week. You have two chapters, Chapter 7 and Chapter 8. If you haven't already done so, please make sure you check out the Chapter 7 and Chapter 8 lecture videos just for context for your assignment purposes. And then for your actual snapshot, you will be turning in 2 discussion forums. So make sure that you complete both of those by Wednesday for week 5 attendance and then respond to 2 classmates by Sunday. And then you'll have a Chapter 7 assignment, a Chapter 7 quiz, a Chapter 8 assignment, and a Chapter 8 quiz. This video is just going to focus on Chapter 7, and then I will come back and just talk about Chapter 8. All right, so Chapter 7 discussion board. So as usual, we'll click in here. The prompt is, because Chapter 7 talks about different types of thinking, creative, critical, analytical, problem solving. So the prompt says, some people say creativity is in the realm of children. So I think that's often kind of something that people understand, like children tend to be more creative, but it also depends on our definition of creativity. Can you think of how a child's curiosity and willingness to explore may help you understand a college discipline that is unfamiliar to you now? So think about how children typically are very interested in things, especially new things, new places, new ideas. Oftentimes kids are not as worried about taking risks or asking questions as adults are. So think about all those things. How can you use those same approaches? How can you be open to new ideas, willing to take risks, willing to ask questions? Like, how can you apply that to a college discipline that's maybe not familiar to yourself? So how can you use curiosity toward one of your most difficult courses? So think about a course that maybe you have already taken, that you're taking now, or that you have to take in the future and that you think might be challenging for you. How can you use that sense of curiosity toward that course? That is due Wednesday for your weekly attendance along with your Chapter 8. And then make sure you respond to 2 classmates by Sunday. All right, let's take a look here at our Chapter 7 assignment. You'll click on this and it's going to be a PDF. And I think this is kind of a fun one. Excuse me. So we have a list here. It says, read the little scenario. So the scenario is your institution has cut funding to the library, tutoring center, and the wellness center effective immediately. You know that this is going to impact you and your fellow students' success because you can't access these services. So what would you do? So basically just kind of think real quickly, what would you do? And honestly, maybe the answer is nothing. But thinking through what you would do, here you're going to fill out this list of people. So this is part of creative thinking. Chapter 7 has creative thinking. So Bugs Bunny, Oprah, Bill Gates, Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, Jay-Z, Malala Yousafzai, Harry Potter. If you're not familiar with any of those, you are welcome to Google kind of to know what they do, as they are all well known in their particular areas, whether they are like a famous musician or a civil rights leader. So if you're not familiar with any of them, you are welcome to Google just to get a little bit of context, but then you're going to think about like, what would they do? So for instance, I'm going to give you an example. Please don't use this one, but it was just kind of a funny one that someone used in a previous semester. Bugs Bunny, they put, Bugs Bunny is kind of creative, but he's also tricky. So he would burrow a hole leading to a bank, steal money, take the money and give it to the institution to keep those places open. I don't know, again, far-fetched, but that's because Bugs Bunny is a cartoon character. So think about what each person might do. Would they raise money? Would they come up with a solution? Would they hold a concert? And anything you think they would do that's kind of in their wheelhouse. Because a lot of these people are advocates. Obviously, a couple of them are fictional. Then down here, of the potential solutions, which are the most realistic? Obviously, like the cartoons or the characters are not going to be very realistic, but which ones are the most exciting? And then you'll make sure you save it with your changes so that I don't get a blank document. And then you will drop that in the Dropbox area. And then the second assignment that goes along with Chapter 7 is your Chapter 7 quiz. So the questions here, remember, we want to answer all parts of the questions and we want to use 2 to 5 sentences. So being open-minded is a characteristic of creative thinkers. Do you consider yourself open-minded? Do you think that your open-mindedness, or your lack of it, depends on the subject matter? And then talk about a recent situation where you had to kind of think about your open-mindedness. Question 2, in the book, Mark Twain is quoted as saying there's no such thing as a new idea. Do you agree or disagree? And then defend or explain your answer using 1 or 2 examples. This is where, for whatever reason, people tend to not put this in there. So give me examples, give me examples of new ideas or how ideas really aren't new. They just recycle one another. So come up with like a specific product or concept or whatever it is to kind of support your opinion. Question 3, this semester, have you tried doing anything in a different way than you've done it in the past? How do you feel about trying something new? What's your reaction? If you have tried something differently, what was the outcome? Are you sticking with that, or did you go back to a previous? So maybe it's like just a study method. Maybe you tried a new study method and you're like, yeah, this really works, or not for me. Question 4, can you recall a time when you had to use clear and logical thinking to resolve a conflict and describe that situation? So maybe it's within your friend group or at work or at school, kind of conflict resolution. And then question 5, our chapter talks a little bit about metacognition. So when did you first become aware of your thinking processes and how you come to know things? When did you start thinking about your thoughts and conclusions? Has that evolved over time? And so just kind of talk about your experience with metacognition. All right, so that's your chapter 7 quiz. All right, those are your chapter 7 assignments. So I will be back here and I will go over just your chapter 8 assignments in the next video. See you then.